So let's talk about the new and Terminator heavy Dark Angels launch box. With the value and cost of the miniatures within, how is the deal shaping up for the forces of the Unforgiven? Hello and welcome back to Warspets Tactics, where today we're talking Dark Angels once more, and in this video I thought we'd revisit the Dark Angels Deathwing Assault Box set, announced by Games Workshop on Christmas Day. I thought it might be interesting to break down the box set's contents bit by bit, talk about how much it might cost separately, and whether or not it's shaping up to be a good deal initially, though obviously the final price is pending. As announced by Games Workshop, Deathwing Assault is the launch box for the 10th edition Dark Angels Codex update. Perhaps kind of surprising in the fact that it's Dark Angels of a very clear theme. This one basically is your Deathwing Terminator component to the army. 16 Terminator miniatures including a character, and a few hangers-on including teleport homers and watchers in the dark, plus some upgrade sprues, the new Codex supplement, and the datasheet cards. The release date for the big set is likely to be sometime in January. I have a feeling that Games Workshop won't be keeping us waiting too long for this. There is at least a chance that it might precede the Codex by a little bit as well. We've often had these launch boxes come out and the Codex not come out till a bit later. All we know officially at the moment is that it's spring in Games Workshop's calendar, and my guess would be that they'll likely be the first Codex to get released in spring, given that we've seen some model teaser reveals for the others but no full miniatures yet. Seeing as the Dark Angels have had already quite a lot of stuff previewed by now, it does seem likely that they'll be first. Very fitting for the First Legion, I suppose. In this video I thought it could be interesting to break down the contents of the box bit by bit, see how much it would likely cost separately, and compare it to the box set's likely pricing. Obviously that's yet to be confirmed and Games Workshop could still surprise us for good or bad, but in general these box sets tend to have a similar sort of price bracket, around about the same as the Christmas Battle Force box sets, so I feel like that's going to be a reasonable enough estimate until we get further details there. Firstly, while we're on the subject of the Deathwing Assault box set though, I thought I'd mention that this is the one that I decided to make for the February giveaway for Warspets Tactics. As per usual, each month I give away a fair few Warhammer 40k big box sets or other miniatures, and given that we've got some new exciting Dark Angels on the way, it could be fun to do this one for the February giveaway. This time there'll be 6 chances to win this one, containing the 16 Terminators, new Dark Angels Codex, and a few more bits. If you're interested in being entered for this one, then as per normal there's 2 equal ways to enter. Either you can support the channel on Patreon for any amount, it is what allows me to keep on making all these videos all the time. The link is down in the video description below. That gets you automatic entry to each channel prize giveaway each month. Otherwise, alternatively, you can support the channel entirely for free via social media. To do that, you just need to do 3 actions. Subscribe to the YouTube channel and like the Facebook page, and then to actually enter the draw, then respond to the Facebook post that appears on the 1st of February. Reply to that post with a photo of any 40k mini or imagery, along with your name and the date, handwritten within the same photo. The last bit's just to deter Facebook bots and spammers. Then, as per usual, the draw will be done with a random number generator, all the Facebook and the Patreon entries put in equally, and the winners will be announced on the 4th of February in the channel update video. If Games Workshop is a bit slow about releasing these, then the box sets will be posted out when I receive them, when my order comes in, and there will be further similar giveaways to this each month. At the moment there's still chance to enter for the Combat Patrol giveaway for the 1st of January one, so feel free to check out either the channel's Patreon or the Facebook page if you'd like to enter for those. The link's down in the video description. Giveaways aside though, let's get back to the miniature content of the box set, and first up leading up the box is Grandmaster Belial himself. Going by other similar Terminator named characters, he's likely to be £27.50, €35 or $45 US. He's looking big, chunky and dangerous in the new Terminator armour, equipped with his signature Sword of Silence and a Stormbolter. A pretty iconic choice to be heading up the Terminators. In game he does have a fairly mighty melee profile, though he's one of the ones that I hope Games Workshop does something a bit more interesting with his datasheet. I feel like for his points cost at the moment, he's a tough sell compared with some of the other Terminator characters that more directly help out the entire unit. Hopefully he'll see some improvements in the Codex. It would be nice if either he was a little bit fightier or had a more interesting buffing rule for his Terminator squad. Really quite a nice miniature though, I think they've done well with him. Then moving on, we've got the regular Deathwing Terminators. There's 2 sets of 5 of them in the box set, so that'd be £80, €110 or $130 US worth of miniatures, 2 sets of the regular Terminator kit from Games Workshop. These guys feel like they're some of the signature Termies of 10th edition. And the way the box is designed, they're basically aims to be using the 2 Dark Angels upgrade sprues that come inside the box set, giving you the chapter iconography on their right hand shoulder pad, plus a few other themed bits like a fancy sword and a couple of helm variants. They do get that rather nice plasma cannon as well. Perhaps a little bit disappointing that they didn't go the full hog and actually replace the Deathwing Terminator Squad / Terminator Command Squad type box, not when they separated out the Deathwing Knights. These ones will be a little bit more minimally changed compared with the Deathwing Knight kit that they've got, though I do think that the new Terminator miniatures do look nice. Speaking of the Deathwing Knights though, you get one squad of 5 of these. We don't know the pricing of them yet, but it seems likely that they'd be the same cost as the standard Terminators, unless Games Workshop decides to charge a premium for them. I think they're unlikely to be less. These guys were generally pretty well received when they were unveiled, different sort of stylistic helms, a lot more Dark Angels theming and some fun loincloths and robes and things, with the option for some hooded heads as well. And now the choice to swap out their maces for a sword loadout will be interesting to see how that impacts them in game. I feel like given that you get one of these sets in the kits, there might be enough spares to do a bit of personalisation on the rest of the Deathwing Terminators. I'm hoping they made them at least a little bit interchangeable. I think that could be kind of nice to swap out some helmets if you wanted to, and maybe share a little bit of the Unforgiven goodness throughout the rest of the squad. Out of the entire box set, these guys feel like the highlight to me. A big exciting elite infantry unit that's actually been properly redone. Then moving on, we've got 2 sets of the Dark Angels upgrade sprue. I'm going by the very similar Black Templars upgrade sprue offering that they have, and that one costs £21, 27 euros, or $35 US, so it seems to me to be pretty sensible to assume that it's going to cost the same. Compared with the kind of mini Primaris upgrade sprue that the Dark Angels have, this definitely is in another league. Lots of different shoulder pauldrons with the chapter's iconography to fit various armor marks like Gravis, Terminators, and standard Mark 10. There's enough to have an entire Terminator squad like that, and you also get the plasma cannon, a personalised Stormbolter, and a unique power sword. Beyond that, I think the Watcher in the Dark is really quite fun. It means that you can have him carrying a book to follow your Terminator squad around. A few bits to personalise Ravenwing, but much less support here. One of their winged plumes that can come out the back of an Outrider, plus some bits that would look like they might be okay on the hood of a Stormspeeder perhaps, and then a whole bunch of hooded helms and things. They do look kind of fun, but might look a little out of place if the rest of the miniature doesn't have any robes on or anything. Overall, I think it's a fairly good little collection of bits, far better than most of Games Workshop's upgrade sprues for the Primaris Space Marines. I feel like this box set might be a good place to land them though. I feel like they'll be a little bit painful just to buy just in themselves when you're not actually getting any miniatures besides that Watcher. There should be a nice enough benefit to the box set though to get 2 sets of those and just get a whole bunch of Dark Angels random spares for projects going forward. Finally, we've got the paper contents of the box set. There's the Codex supplement Dark Angels, which if Games Workshop does it their normal way, that might well be the first place to get your hands on the new rules. I'd estimate that one to be around £20, 28 euros or $35, though Games Workshop could surprise us again there. So far the Codex supplements generally tend to come at a cheaper price compared with the full fat Codexes. Basically a nod to the fact that you don't get as many datasheets in these, plus they're sort of seen as an extra purchase as you need to have the core Codex Space Marines if you wanted the full official rules. So at least in 9th edition they were significantly cheaper. This one is a special edition of that same book as well, so it's got some classic artwork of an interrogator chaplain. I feel like that Codex might have been the 4th or 5th edition cover if I remember right. And as well as the Codex, you also get a copy of the datasheet cards for Dark Angels as well. Going by the numbers for the AdMech, they'd be around about £20, 25 euros or $35. They might be a little bit cheaper given that there's likely to be fewer cards in here than elsewhere. They're handy enough little references, but I feel like you might get a slightly disappointing amount of cards for your money, and they might potentially double up on them and just give you 2 copies of each. You also get the Dark Angels transfer sheet as well. I guess that might be seen as part of the upgrade sprue type things. Kind of fairly standard offerings though in Games Workshop's kits. Putting that all together though, does that equate to a good deal for the Deathwing Assault box set? If we just went by these rough estimation numbers, then I'd expect the total theoretical value of the box set to be around about £230 or $380, which I guess would be good news at least on paper if the box set does wind up costing similar prices to the Christmas Battle Force box set. They were £140 or $230 US. My guess would be that the eventual price will probably be at least somewhere in this region. It could be a little bit higher than that, it could be a little bit lower. If it does wind up being exactly the same as the Battle Forces though, then in theory that would be a rough discount of around 40% compared with Games Workshop price separately. And overall I'd say that as it goes, that's not too bad. Games Workshop Combat Patrol discounts tend to be somewhere between 25% and 40%, so to be on the upper end for GW offerings there. Overall, really not too bad, but that is accounting for everything. It means that you both want the Codex supplements, the index cards, and those upgrade sprues as well, so it's certainly not purely just based on the Terminators alone. If all you were interested in was the actual Terminator miniatures and characters, it's probably not going to be enormously different to buying those separately. Seems kind of interesting in its focus though. It does mean that you could field a very Deathwing force for your Dark Angels, and given what we know about 40k detachments and things so far, it seems there's a good chance that the Dark Angels might get a Deathwing specific formation for themselves. I guess anything that would just require you to spam an excessive amount of Terminators would have a good start with this. For gameplay at the moment, the Dark Angels Terminators seem to be some of the more exciting things that they can bring to the table, maybe particularly the Deathwing Knights. Obviously can't really say too much on that front until we actually have the Codex out, but it often seems to be in Warhammer 40k that if you want to make Terminators competitive on the tabletop, then the Dark Angels Deathwing tends to be the place where you can do so. I'll be interested to hear your takes on the box set though. If it winds up being the same price as Games Workshop's Battle Forces, then would you consider this a good deal or not? Miniatures wise, it is kind of light on numbers, but you do get some big chunky elite infantry. It definitely feels like a bit of a composite box set between the Terminators and the upgrade sprues and the Codex and data cards. Look forward to hearing your thoughts down in the comments below. Otherwise though, feel free to check out the links down in the video description for the channel's Patreon page or the Facebook page if you want to enter to win one of these come February. And feel free to subscribe to Auspex Tactics if you'd like to see more reviews like this on the channel and other 40k content. Finally, aside from entries to giveaways, there are a few other reasons to support the Patreon page. It is what allows me to keep on making these videos all the time. And otherwise, channel patrons often get to see certain videos a little early on the channel, and regular votes to see what sort of things come next in terms of video production. For higher tier backers, there's also things like your name in the credits as well, and a massive thank you to all you guys who are supporting out there. The link's down in the video description if you're interested. In any case, a massive thank you for listening, and I'll hope to see you guys next time.